The build-up has been all season as teams arrive to set up camp in the Solent. Many of them have been based here in Cowes. The Royal Ocean Racing Club founded the Admirals Cup back in 1957 and ran it every other year until the last one in 2003. But now, after a 22-year absence, the unofficial World Cup of Offshore Racing is back. 30 boats, 15 teams representing 12 nations. This was a truly international event with crews from 28 countries. All of which is pretty interesting because at its peak in 1977 and 79, the year that many of us go all misty-eyed about, there were 19 teams. The passage of time and the absence of the event has clearly done nothing to dim the appeal. The Channel Race provided the opener for the event, and with double points on the table, teams were straight into the thick of it. At least they would have been had the weather delivered. Instead, the start was delayed to allow conditions to develop, but even then it was still light. Having said that, once out in the English Channel, the pace started to build as the fleet headed towards the turning mark off Le Havre. But it was the fast-reaching leg home from the hour's light to the line off Cowes that was the toughest on many of the teams, with a relentless blast along the south coast. Rahn took line honours, but it was the Wally Rocket 51 de Django that took the top spot. Beaugest was second, with Rahn forced into third. In Class 2, the Kiwi 42-footer Callisto took line honours and a win on corrected time. Monaco's Jolt 6 was second, with the Hong Kong entry Beau Ideal in third. But the Admirals Cup is a team event, and when Class 1 and 2 points were aligned, it was Hong Kong and Italy that shared the top spot, with Monaco in third.
I wasn't expecting it to turn out the way it did in the end. The last few hours were pretty hectic. It was almost like a movie. Like, we were sailing offshore, and that is what you would dream of as a child growing up, or anyone would imagine going offshore. Like, we were just steady doing 20 knots the entire time, soaking wet, grinding like crazy, kites blowing up, swapping them out within a few seconds. It was absolutely phenomenal. And like, it was really cool to be on this boat in that race because these guys just don't come off the gas at all. And I've never experienced anything like that in my entire life.
Yeah, so we know that our boat is an offshore motored boat, so we like lots of wind and a bit of reaching, and we have some like the Wally Rocket is a super light boat, more of a Mediterranean setup, and we have the modified TP52s for a very good windward leeward, and we could see that when we was light wind they were faster, and we were really strong at the end when we could reach a bit with lots of breeze. That's when we made a lot of gains.
Yeah, so I think one part that was really important was the start actually of this. Although it's an offshore race, it's nearly 24 hours. The start was really critical to manage to leave the Solent quickly, and the new breeze that built along the island shore allowed us and a few others to sort of get away from the main pack and escape that nicely. So that was a really important part. But also at the end there, probably the bit that cost us winning the group was the stronger winds and making sure you're sailing your boat fast. And after 20 hours of sort of not sleeping yet, being full on racing, you've still got to be really switched on and pushing hard at the end.
The focus for the next 3 days is for inshore racing, and Tuesday saw the first two run in the Solent. The first was a windward leeward course set in the East Brambles area. The second was a longer race around the Cannes, taking the fleet into the Western Solent and back to a finish off the Royal Yacht Squadron. The day started with disaster for the German TP52 Red Bandit team, who lost their mast in pretty benign conditions as they headed upwind. With little chance of finding a replacement custom mast, that looks like being the end of their event. In Class 1, it was the American Black Pearl that won, with Jolt 3 in second and the much-admired Italian Wally Rocket 51 de Django in third. In Class 2, Callisto was leading the way once again, with Beau Ideal in second. But the standout performance in this class was Baraka GP, that took third in a very competitive fleet. The Round the Cans race was not only longer, but according to pretty much every crew that walked up the slipway afterwards, tricky too. The breeze throughout this race was up and down, especially in the western Solent, where the breeze varied between 8 and 25 knots, compressing and expanding the fleet as it did so. In Class 1, Jolt 3 took the win, with the Australian entry Zen in second and the Wally Rocket third. In Class 2, it was Callisto once again in the lead, Beau Ideal in second, and another Australian entry, Back to Black, completing the podium. All of which has left Monaco as the top team, ahead of Hong Kong by a single point, with the Italians in third.
You could have easily missed one of those little rainstorm shifts and gone from hero to zero pretty quick. A couple of people did go from mid-fleet up into the hunt all of a sudden on those big shifts. I mean, there was one there that we had that, well, I guess it would have been close to 60 degrees on the one leg. And you just had to keep looking at it saying, couldn't go more? And oh, here it goes, a little more. So pretty tricky.
Well, it seems like our boat's going really, really well downwind. It's with the twin rudders, we're able to sort of press it up a bit harder than the others, I think, at times. And so we had some really good fun on the downwinds and sort of the reaching things. Upwind, the boat's going really well. It's as it gets a bit windier and wavier, the new boats, our boat's a 2008 boat, so it's been heavily modified, but it has its limitations, I think, a little bit as the breeze increases. So so we work around it as best we can and sort of make sure we sort of take the gains when we can, and then hopefully just hang in there the rest of the time. But no, it was really good. The team did an amazing job today. We're very lucky to be here and very much enjoying the Admirals Cup. I've done 2 Admirals Cups previously. I still remember very clearly when New Zealand won the Admirals Cup in 1987, and I was a young nipper, and watching all these what became sailing heroes in New Zealand come here and win it. It's always had a very I guess important part of sailing sort of folklore, I suppose, in New Zealand. And we raced here in 97 and 99, which was great. But to see the event back it's really, really cool. It's I think the fact that there's 15 teams here, is amazing. To have that number of boats, and I'm sure the momentum will only grow. So I'm really happy to see that the event's alive and kicking again now, and really hope that we see it sort of grow in the future.
If the success of the return of the Admirals Cup was going to be gauged on what people said after the first day of inshore racing, well, it looked like the Admirals Cup was onto a dead cert. There were plenty of happy people, lots of great racing, and an awful lot of positive comments straight away. What people were less certain about was what was going to happen on the second day of inshore racing on Wednesday, because the forecast looked much, much lighter. However, the Met Office, come the morning, had actually drawn a line of convergence along the whole of the south coast, which suggested that things were going to get quite tricky. As the fleet arrived at the start area in East Brambles once again, the breeze was just 6 to 7 knots. And with the building west-going tide pushing the fleet up to the line, there was plenty of opportunity to jump the gun. Which is what happened to several boats, including the Wally Rocket, who were forced to return. But, as we were to see later on, the new 51-footer is quite a weapon. Meanwhile, at the front of Class 1, Jolt 3 and Beau Geste were leading the charge, both on the water and on corrected time. Gordon Kettleby's TP52 Zen was also putting in a strong performance. And by the finish of the 2-lap course, the Wally Rocket Django had pulled themselves back into 4th. There's been a great deal of interest in this new design, not least because of the power of this new low freeboard machine. She's said to be around a ton lighter than a TP52, a class that's never been known for being overweight in the first place. But the Wally also has 800 kilos of water ballast on each side, which goes a long way to explaining why she's such a weapon, especially on a reach. Meanwhile, in Class 2, the west-going tide was putting pressure on this fleet too, with several over at the start. But as their two-lap race played out, it was the striking blue MAT 1220 Nola, sailing for the Swedish team, that was showing that Callisto could be beaten. In fact, the Kiwis had their worst race so far with a 7th. Jolt was also having a bad time with a 6th. But Beau Ideal was holding station with a 2nd, while Chris Frost's Amplify finished 3rd. Achieving a race for both classes in the face of a poor forecast was no mean feat. As the effect of the thermals over the land drifted over the race area, they dumped pockets of breeze and swung the direction from side to side. For race officer Stuart Childley and his team, staying on top of this and the effect of the building tide was a tricky balancing act. But worse was to come, as the signs of the weather convergence drew clearer, with darker skies ashore and the threat of a weather reset. Which, unfortunately, is what happened, as what little northerly breeze there was shut down for the day. Despite waiting for as long as they could, the breeze never returned and racing was stopped for the day. So, after 3 inshore races and the Channel race results, the team leaderboard looked like this. A reversal in fortunes, with the Hong Kong Yacht Club now leading the Monaco Yacht Club by 1 point. With 14 points to the 3rd place Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron team, the lead pair broken away from the pack already. The Kiwis, though, had lifted themselves into 3rd overall, ahead of the Italian Yacht Club Costa Smeralda, just 2 points astern. So the 3rd and final day of the inshore racing, well, what a day that was. It was light and tricky, but you've heard that before because that's what it's been all week. But this was really super tricky, and you only have to look at the results to see how deep, as some of the sailors call it, their results were. The top guys were down the back end and the bottom guys were up at the front end. It was all over the place. The day started off with a round the cans race. We had to wait a little while for it to get underway. The weather didn't really play ball first thing, but when it did, we had a round the cans race. It was about 2 hours. It was a very complex race. It was a very complex course. Loads of turn points, loads of sail changes, and a huge emphasis on sail handling and crew work. It was fascinating to watch, particularly as with the top Grand Prix boats, we're not used to seeing them doing that much in the way of round the cans racing. It's usually the more sanitised windward leeward. So today was an absolute pleasure to watch them go around and see just how hard it was. And when you look at the results for that first race, I have to look here just to remind myself, because it's not the normal run of things. The boat that won it in Class 1 in the round the cans race was Roost van Luden, the Dutch boat. Then it was Jolt 3. Then it was Caro. Caro's not had a particularly good week. They've had some pretty deep results, but this race they did all right in. That was pretty good. And in Class 2, Beau Ideal, well, there's no great surprise to see Beau Ideal at the front of the fleet. But then there was Django, the JPK. That's very much an IRC boat that has been sort of struggling in the light a bit, but they really pulled it off today, got a 2nd, and Jolt 6 was 3rd in that first round the cans race. The 2nd race of the day was back to windward leeward racing, but it still wasn't straightforward. The tide was on the turn, the breeze was on the shift, and it was pretty difficult to read the track. But again, there was some good close racing and quite a mix of results. We saw Zen, the TP52, the Australian TP52, do extremely well. They led off the front on the water and won on corrected time in AC Class 1. Behind them was Beaugest, and then behind Beaugest was Ron. They also haven't been having the best of regattas, certainly on the inshore stuff. They are more optimised for offshore, but it was good to see them up on the podium in the windward leeward race today. And in AC Class 2, it was Garm that won. Now that's the first time that Garm's been on the podium. They won. Sunrise, another JPK, was up there in 2nd. They've also been struggling a bit around the cans. And Django, another JPK, was up there in 3rd for the 2nd race. Principal Race Officer Stuart Childerley and his team were up against it from the moment they went out. They knew that this morning. The forecast was for about 7 or 8 knots, gusting maybe 14 or 15. That on the face of it looked like it'd be okay, but it was quite clear when we got out there that the weather wasn't really going to play like that. So there were some delays early on in the morning which pushed the whole schedule back. They had to get another race in as well. So they put a lot of pressure on the team to actually get the 3 races off. But get 3 races they did. The last race didn't actually start until about 5:30 in the afternoon, but they managed to get it in, by which time the breeze has actually come up a fair old bit. But they got the 3rd race in, and in AC Class 1, it was Django, the Wally Rocket, that came to the front. This is quite a machine, and there's a lot of eyes on this machine. It's one of the most modern machines in the fleet. Just behind her was Beaugest, and then in 3rd it was Zen again, the Australian TP52 on the podium. And in IRC Class 2, well, there were some more familiar names at the front of the fleet in this race. Callisto, the Kiwi 42-footer, they won the race. They've been probably the standout boat, to be honest, throughout the whole week for the most consistent results right at the top. They were back there. Jolt 6 was then behind them. And then in 2nd, it was Amplifier, the British boat, Amplifier, that came 3rd. Now, it was also a very complicated day because today was the first point at which discards kicked in. They had to get the 4th race underway, which they did, which was the Round the Cans race, but that then triggered 1 discard. You can't discard an offshore race, but 1 discard for the inshore racing. So that has complicated the points makeup as well, but also the huge shuffle in the points pack has been quite remarkable today, and just goes to show that we might have a huge, wide, broad range of boats here, but at the end of the day, the results are sort of filtering through, and we're starting to see where different boats have got different strengths, and it's certainly been the talk of the dockside here. But if all of that's a little bit too convoluted for you, let me make it much more simple, because when I refer to my notes here and look at how we end up in AC Class 1, the top 3 boats, Wally Rocket, Jolt 3 and Beaugest, on 18 points, 19 points, 19 points. I mean, it could barely be any closer than that, given that now the next test is the Fastnet. It was a sort of similar picture, at least between the first 2 boats in AC Class 2. Callisto on 17, Beau Ideal on 17 and Jolt 6 on 25. So even that gap between 17 and 25, given the Fastnet is for triple points, no one's sitting on their laurels whatsoever. And then when you look at the all-important team standings, because the Admirals Cup is a team event, well, it's the same teams up there. Leading at the moment is the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club on 36 points, the Monaco Yacht Club is on 44, and the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda is on 59. If you do the maths on that, the gaps are still small enough that the Fastnet really does matter. Vasco, that was a long and tricky day on the water, wasn't it?
It was a long day in the water, that's for sure. It was a long day in the water, and let's say that after the first race, we knew that we need to do something special in the second and the third one, because we lost a lot of points in the first one. And then we did, I think, 2 good races, 4 and first. I think that is a good result that give us opportunity for the Fastnet, for the Admirals Cup.
Well, you've ended up pretty much on even points, haven't you? There's 1 point between the top 3 boats in your class. You might as well have just turned up for the Fastnet.
Yeah. It's very close, and I'm very happy for the Wally Rocket. I think that this is a brand new boat, just day 10 in the water, not many days. So we keep learning a lot, and I think that there is a lot of potential, and we can make just better and better.
Yeah. What do you think about the inshore racing? It's been pretty intense out there, and we've seen the results shuffle around a lot. Today was a really good example of that.
Yes, I think that all the boats has fantastic sailors, and it's a matter to just little details as usual. So it's I'm personally very happy to leading this kind of inshore events because looks like that we were able to do a quite good job.
Yeah, and obviously it's not over yet by a long way. You've still got 700 miles to go with the Fastnet. But what are your overall feelings? What do you think the mood is within the event here about the Admirals Cup going forward? Do you think this is an event that we're going to see again?
Oh, needs to be. I think I said just before to friends. I feel that I have the luxury to have the opportunity to sail again the Admirals Cup. I did this in the 26 years ago, and it's something that you are dreaming since when you are very, very young. And to have a second opportunity, to me, it's something. It's a present. It's a real present. I really happy that this cup is again in the. I mean, the possibility to win again this kind of cup, and this event like Sardinia Cup next year, I think that are something special. I think that it's not just America's Cup, it's also Admirals Cup and Sardinia. That's great for everybody.
I'll ask you the same question as Cherbourg after the next 700 miles.
That's a different question. I said that it's fantastic, and then I will be tired, for sure.
Good luck, Vasco.
Thank you, thank you.
That first round the Cans race was fascinating to watch because we're so used to seeing these boats on windward leeward courses, and yet there you are round the Cans, and the number of sail changes and manoeuvres that you had to do in that first race was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was really busy, and the guys did a great job of it. There were a lot of close calls where things could have gone poorly, and they did a nice job with it. Several of those maneuvers we've never done before because you can't practice for everything. The current going this direction at that mark and how it works and all those things. It's hard to prepare for, but the guys thought through what we had to do, and they did it well.
Did they enjoy it?
I think most everybody enjoyed it. We know we left a little bit on the table. We would have liked to have beaten a couple more boats here and there, but we're very, very happy to end up on top of the group for the week.
There are some people that might argue that why would you bring the best sailors in the world and put them on the easiest race course in the world, i.e. a windward leeward course? Why not stick them on a really hard one with tide and shifts and God knows what else? I mean, would you say that that's the mood? Is that something that people are enjoying in this event? Because not often we see this.
I think, the best at any sport love being challenged, and it's very challenging to sail here. I'm certain that a lot of the teams were expecting to have a strong southwesterly sea breeze every day, always the same, and this week has been everything, from every direction. So it's that's really challenging, and I think that's what the teams are here for.
What do you think this means for the Cup, the Admirals Cup in the longer term? I mean, this is a flash in the pan, or do you think there's enough momentum and excitement in this event so far that it will carry forwards?
Well, certainly we hope it carries forward because this is something that is a very special event. It's a special format with the two boat teams and all the different types of racing. And I think it's not really offered anywhere else in the world. So you can see that there's a fair amount of interest this year with boats that have been modified and adjusted. And there's a lot of talk now about, okay, in 2 years, we can have a boat that'll do this and this and this, and it'll be that much better. Let's make it happen.
Gavin, what a way to go into the Fastnet with the three of you all within 1 point.
Yeah, it's incredible. I guess shows you, the type of racing we've had out there. It's been everything from a light to then a very windy, hard offshore race to every condition you can imagine out there. We've had rain clouds and 40-degree shifts. We've had obviously a lot of current, and we've had light air days. So you couldn't get a more all-round regatta if we tried, when you could come here and do the whole regatta and, sea breezes, and it could be one boat might dominate in those conditions, but we've certainly seen a very wide range.
It's certainly not your typical windward leeward type of regatta, is it at all? Do you think people have enjoyed that? Because it's been, today we saw a huge emphasis on crew work, sail handling and all that kind of stuff. You don't tend to see much of that in windward leeward racing.
No, I think there was probably two things that I took out of the last couple of days in the Solent. One of them, I think there's a lot of pressure on the teams. I sort of felt a little bit like, what would the All Blacks be saying going into the locker room at half time? I certainly felt like the teams were feeling, like the way the teams were sailing, there's a lot of, I would say a few unforced errors by everybody, but I just think it shows you that, everyone really wants to win this regatta. It means a lot. There's a lot of history to this event. So I think that, the teams sometimes sailed a little bit unsettled. I know we did at times, but other teams as well. So, I think that was probably one of the things I took out of it. I think there's a lot of races we'd all love to do again out there. Look at the points that we all put on the scoreboard. we all put a lot of points on the board. Thank goodness there's a discard, So, it was interesting. I just think it's just such a, IRC is a very all-round rule, and so you do need a range of conditions. Otherwise, one boat might dominate, and actually we got those conditions.
There is only 1 point between you and Wally Rocket as you go into the Fastnet. You could have just turned up and done the Fastnet.
We knew the Fastnet was going to be the reason that this event was won. So, it's going to be an interesting story to tell here on how that goes. It's a long, hard race with a lot of different places where you can gain and lose. So it's going to be interesting to see. And we know that, there's the one boat that was, purpose-built for this event, ready to go. And hopefully we can hang on to them and maybe outsmart them at some point.